did, however, when Mr. Murphy retired at Riley, which then led Mr. Bear to go from the high school to Riley, which then had Mr. Olson go from the middle school to the high school, which then Mr. Creek went from the high school to the middle school. We had an opening at the high school as an assistant principal. We posted that position. We had several very qualified candidates, probably the largest pool we've had of people interested in coming to Hudsonville, and we narrowed it down to 3 candidates, all of whom were we consider rock stars, but we had to make decisions. And the decision we narrowed it down to was a gentleman named Nate Allen, comes to us from Grand Haven Public Schools, was an educator there, and is coming here to be assistant principal at the high school. He does live in the district already, which is kind of a bonus from his standpoint. He's all fired up, but will be a great addition to the high school team, and looking forward to him beginning work starting in the fall. So that is our recommendation to hire Nate Allen as assistant principal at Hudsonville High School. Nate is not here. He's actually on vacation. He said, I will come in, and we said, no, family comes first. So he'll be here at our next board meeting to be introduced, and say hello, but we want him to be with his family.
Okay, great.
Unless he's surprised. He's a big guy. I would notice him if he was him.
All right, can I have a motion, please, that the board approve Nathan Allen as the assistant high school principal as reviewed by Dr. VanderJagt? So moved. Motion by Steve. I support that. Support from Mark. Any questions or comments? He's not here for us to give him a hard time. Okay. With that, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Next up, we have some human resource items.
There, got a lot of people kind of standing, so I'm going to invite some of our new hires in. So 10 great recommendations for the board, tonight. Some are here and some are not, but I will go through each of them. So welcome, thank you so much for coming. I was like, okay, I'll move it. So first, and unfortunately she's not here under the weather, Natalie Bella Van Mollekam. I'm recommending for hire at Riley Middle School as a resource teacher. Bella this year served as a long-term sub at Jamestown Upper in a resource position, came highly recommended from Andy and the diagnostic staff and the teachers, and we are very excited to see her now in a more permanent role at Riley. Grace Green. Hey, Grace. Grace is coming to us with about 5 years of teaching experience prior. She student taught at Riley a while ago, so I like to say that she fell in love with Hudsonville then. And so we have lured her back, and she will be a resource teacher at Hudsonville High School. Grace is going, I'm very jealous, she's going on this amazing vacation in California this summer, soon, right? And she promised me she's going to take pictures when we were sitting when she's out there. But we're very excited for her to work with our high school students. Tyler Steenland, another resource teacher that we will be hiring for Baldwin Middle School. Tyler actually is an HPS grad, and I will not tell the year, but you can tell anybody later. But while I was talking, I'm sad that Larry's not here tonight, but as we were talking earlier in my office last week, Tyler said that he had Larry as a teacher. And so I'm excited. We will have to connect you two. But Tyler taught for 6 years in Greenville and did middle school and high school there, so we're really excited for his experiences and excited for him to be an Eagle again. Next we have Kathleen White. She is unable to make it tonight, but she is going to be a music teacher at Baldwin Middle School. Diane Scott is actually going to be an elementary music teacher at Upper and Lower. And so because of Diane's change, Kathleen comes to us. Actually, she taught for a year here, this year at Riley, in a long-term choir position. And so we're really excited to get her permanently over at Baldwin. Then we have Holly Benord. Holly Benord, you might recognize. She has worked for us as a security at Riley, but she also has been our girls varsity soccer coach as well. And we are very excited to get her in as a permanent teacher over at the high school in the PE department. Becky Heilman. There she is. Becky worked for us at Bauer. I am bringing her here tonight as a person for first grade at Bauer. I received letters from first grade teachers at Bauer just saying how wonderful she was, as well as Jamestown. Did you do your student teaching there? No, a long time ago, right? Or just a month?
Nope, long term.
That's what I thought. I was like, I knew you did. Yeah. But then also a month, right, for Jamestown. So we're excited to have her in the position of first grade. And Becky and I are going to be instant friends because we both love reading, and we've already been emailing each other over the weekend about books. Then we have Matthew Krasowski. I said that so wrong. Matthew, say it again for me.
Krauzik.
Thank you. I don't know where I added a syllable. But Matthew is coming to us. He did this internship at Coopersville as a school psych and came highly recommended from Coopersville, as well as Randy Waldy reached out to us. Would you like to add any more other than we're very excited to have Matthew in the school psych position for our district. Katie Brucker, right there waiting. Katie is another person, I'm telling you, this year we had a lot of people in a lot of different spots. Katie did a long-term sub position for us at the high school. Katie probably taught like 8 subjects throughout the year, a couple different ones per trimester, but she also has her family consumer science degree, and this is a rarity in the state of Michigan because there's not very many programs out there either. So not only did we know that she was just a great applicant because she works with our kids so well because she already had for a year, she also had the one degree that like nobody has. So it was very exciting. And she also has a wellness background, and I know for our SOAR goal of wellness, I've already recruited her. She's on my committee. Lindsay Morris is not here tonight. She will be doing 4th grade at Bauer Elementary School. She's coming to us from teaching 3rd grade at Coopersville. Lives in the area of 3 boys, and she's currently camping January 1st as well. And then finally, Emma Eisman. Emma comes to us nationally. I recruited her from Missouri. Couldn't have a hiring without someone from out of state. And so Emma comes to us from Missouri by way of Mexico, by way of Michigan. Emma is going to be an EL teacher for us for the district, but primarily at the high school. She has taught in a newcomer school with a lot of monolingual students, as well as she had experience living in Mexico, and just has a real passion for English language learners. So we're very excited to have her move to Michigan and be here in Hudsonville. And so those are my recommendations for hire tonight.
All right, awesome. Can I have a motion and a second that the board approve the human resource recommendations as reviewed by Ann Armstrong?
So moved.
Motion by Don, support from Chad. Any questions or comments for our potentially new staff members here? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Welcome. It's exciting to have you all as part of our staff, part of our team here, part of the Hudsonville family. We're looking forward to a great year coming up, and again, really excited and pleased that you're going to be part of this team and part of this group. So it's a high expectations district, and I know you'll all be contributors to achieving those expectations. So welcome, congratulations, great to have you here.
And I told them that they could all leave since it was family room.
They can all leave. I was just going to say, you're welcome to stay, but you're welcome to leave, and you won't hurt our feelings if you decide to leave. That's fine. Just a moment. All right. Next, we move on to recognition of visitors and hearing the people present. We have a number of folks that want to address the board this evening. So, as you address the board, please approach the podium. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes because of the number. Please state your name, your address, and as soon as we get the timer set up for 3 minutes, we'll go ahead and proceed. Okay, so again, raise hand if you'd like to address the board this evening, and you may do so at this time. Yes, in the blue shirt. Yep. Go ahead.
Somebody beat to it.
No, you're fine. You call my eye first, so go ahead.
My name is Steve Landecker. My address is 3908 Terry Street. I want to say thank you for school board members for their service to our community. I haven't always lived here, and I think that gives me some healthy perspective on the district. I grew up in Phoenix. My high school was very diverse. There was an even mix of Hispanics, blacks, and whites. There was a strong sense of group identity by race, and a lot of racial animosity between the elements of all the races. Gang affiliation and culture fed that animosity and real violence. I kept my head down and out of trouble, but as an undersized, skinny white kid with glasses, it was not always a safe space. And I mean physically safe, not I got called names in the hallway safe. I moved to West Michigan between my 10th and 11th grade year. To be honest, it was a little surreal. There was no shootings, no stabbings, there wasn't even fist fights. Certainly in Michigan, I never witnessed a girl fight escalate from back and forth racial slurs to someone getting their head grabbed by the hair and bounced off the cement. So coming out of that environment, it wasn't always easy for me to see other racial groups in the most positive light. My kids were born here and raised here. They were instilled with the values we taught them and reinforced in the community. They count among their closest friends, Asians, Mexicans, Jewish, and black kids. They see people according to the color of their skin, they see people according to the content of their character and not the color of their skin, just like the vast majority of this community. There's 3 reasons that's true. Parents in the community here teach their kids that all people are created in the image of God and all have equal and incredible value.
Amen.
2, we teach that they have a duty to treat others as they want to be treated. And finally, we teach that this world-altering truth. It is self-evident that all men are created equal and endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We teach that with this in mind, our country and government was designed purposefully to limit the power of man over their fellow man to protect those self-evident truths. That is the worldview that produces incredible Hudsonville kids that love their country and their fellow man of all colors. Those kids are the ones that go on to adopt a 4th or 5th kid out of a possible situation because they have extra love to share. Those are the kids that go as missionaries or give to communities from the Congo to Zambia to Haiti to Venezuela to China. And they vote to preserve this incredible American system of government. Those that promote DEIB and other facets of critical race theory have a worldview diametrically opposed to ours. They twist language from equality to equity. They are determined, strategic, and have a slick sales pitch. But make no mistake, they have ill intent towards our kids and our values and our community. They are a cancer in our schools. We must not placate them. We cannot water them down. We must actively cut them out of their seats of influence wherever they are. Hudsonville is an incredible place. It is not broken or deficient.
Sure, we are at 3 minutes, please, so please wrap it up.
If you could buy what we have here and sell it to other districts, you'd sell it by the truckload.
Folks, I know this is a passionate topic, but if we're going to spend all night clapping and so forth, we'll have to move on because we have a lot of other agenda items to cover. So I understand the desire to express strong feelings about this, and we respect that as a board. But please, we ask that we keep the meeting moving so we can hear from all present that want to speak tonight. So with that, please, next person. So thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. Next person that would like to speak, again, raise your hand and I'll catch your eye. And yes, another person.
We should talk to each other. Thank you. Terry McCallum, 5960 Corey Point Court, Hudsonville, for the time being anyway. Thank you, board members, for your service to Hudsy. Board members, I implore you to make some immediate changes and ask them many questions. Is a taxpayer-funded consultant even necessary to foster a more inclusive HPS district? Shouldn't the well-paid leaders we already have be able to address this and any harmful bias or foster an inclusive environment? If you do believe a more professional development is needed for staff, how do we determine Julian Newman was the person for the job? Why did we have a DEIB meeting only after it was demanded by the community in the summer, poorly advertised, in an auditorium that was 15% full? Meanwhile, residents who are not parents of students, but are voters to the school board, are taxpayers, were not even allowed to register. Pretty ironic for a meeting on, pretty not very inclusive for a meeting on inclusion and diversity. What trainings can you do that are more helpful, not counterproductive, and why does HPS list this initiative under the SOAR strategic plan right underneath curriculum? But parents, it's not about curriculum. At the meeting, Mr. VanderJagt stated DEIB at HBS is not critical race theory curriculum, it's not shaming any students for their race or culture, and it's not promoting Black Lives Matter. Thank God for that, because all of those things would hurt community relations in Hudsonville and make matters worse, and would alienate a large majority of your community. Unfortunately, it's hard to believe, though, because staff has already been trained by Julian for months, and he's made very categorical statements about all white people. He does endorse CRT, and he does endorse Black Lives Matter. His endorsements are not the personal thoughts in the private life of some random HBS applicant. They're statements on the very topic he was chosen to be a subject matter expert on, and he's paid for by our tax dollars. In the interest of time, I'll skip some examples, but he recently posted, "We realize that racial injustice and discrimination is present in every strata of the U.S. We must shift systems, reconstruct, deconstruct, reimagine institutions, and structures to create change." His own words in the meeting to us as the community were, "We need to talk about inequity in the context of privilege." And went on to say, if you're a white person in this room, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. Being a person that received a ticket you didn't know you had doesn't make you a bad person. His defense of CRT was so strong that he put out a meme recently equating people who disagree with him and disagree with CRT as segregationists. You're using our tax dollars to have somebody stand up and tell us these things. This consultant arrangement should end immediately, and you should be very careful how you proceed with other trainings initiatives. Training on cultural awareness is great. Training on diversity is all well and good. Teaching us about other cultures is phenomenal. But if you support DIB that talks about white privilege, white fragility, and systemic institutional racism, you embrace CRT.
Yes.
And you use our tax dollars to do it, and you're distracting from academics to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never voted no on any HBS initiative ever in my life. If this continues, I'll vote no on anything that this board puts before me. My kids probably will not be in this district by the end of the month, and I suspect a large number of students won't be here on count day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Great comments. Okay, next person. Yes, I see a hand up there. Yes. Yep.
Hi, my name is Kate Ritzma. I live in Jamestown, Michigan. I'm going to read a statement. It says, HBS District realizes success will be achieved through a cooperative partnership of students, teachers, support staff, administrators, board members, parents, and the community. I hope this statement sounds familiar to you because it is part of the mission statement of HBS. So the question I ask you is, are you really taking into consideration the voices of all partnerships? I know for a fact that many of us parents and community members have contacted you with their feelings and concerns regarding CRT, DEIB, or whatever euphemism have you, but some have responded and some have not. After the parent meeting with Julian Newman, I left feeling even more confused when I walked into the doors. You stated that it is not CRT, but you never told us what it was. So I'm asking you, what is DEIB? Now I'm going to refer to the SOAR plan dated April 30th, 2021. And I believe the Julian Newman was June 16th. That meeting was June 16th. You stood up there and told us that DEIB is not part of the curriculum. Your number one thing under curriculum is DEIB. So what are we doing here? I demand that you send all of us parents, either who are for or against DEIB, the curriculum that you are pushing out to our children. I am not going to keep playing this anymore. I am beyond frustrated. I have a family member who has a master's degree in CRT. This family member, who is self-proclaimed as the most radical teacher in Michigan, said that CRT should absolutely not be taught in schools. They state that CRT is a thesis within the academic world so far beyond even a bachelor level in college studies. It would only make sense in a grad program focused on race and sociology in the context of liberal race theory. Coming from them, that raises red flags to me that we are allowing this context in our elementary, middle, and high schools. My family member also states part of the education progression is to be held accountable to the community and that our words should be under a microscope. Even though Julian isn't a teacher at our school, he's just a highly paid instructor, his actions and words should most definitely be under a microscope as well, and I know you've been presented screenshots of his postings on social media. The difference between CRT and DEIB is that DEIB is just a camouflage acronym for CRT to make it sound more appealing to everyone. I will not stand for this. I am asking you, how come so many states are starting to pass bills to outlaw CRT, DEIB, CT, etc., but we here in Hudsonville, we're welcoming it with open arms. Where is the pressure coming from to integrate this into our schools? Is it from your churches, your head pastors, local government, or is it money? You have so much support from the parents who are questioning this that I cannot imagine that you would not feel okay getting rid of this once and for all. I will not subject my children to revision in this CRT DEIB.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. We appreciate that. Next person who would like to address the board this evening. Please raise your hand. Yes.
Jenny Gamby, Waterleaf Way in Hudsonville. Board members, I thank you again for your time this evening. Every school day at Hudsonville Public, there are thousands of children and adolescents instructed and influenced by teachers and administrative staff. The definition of the word child is a young person, especially between infancy and puberty, one strongly influenced by another. And adolescence is defined as a young person who is developing into an adult, one who is emotionally or intellectually immature. Adolescence is also a time for rapid cognitive development. The thoughts, ideas, and concepts developed at this period of life greatly influence one's future life, playing a major role in character and personality formation. With that said, the DEIB implementation should immediately stop, and the consultant, Julian Newman, should be fired. You told us DEIB would not be curriculum, yet in the SOAR 4 plan, it specifically states, under curriculum, DEIB. This instantly makes me question everything you tell us. Now, we have to decipher what is truth and what is a lie. I walked away from the DEIB meeting feeling like your definition is extremely different from Julian Newman's, and I agree all students should feel safe while at school. However, Julian's definition is aligned with critical race theory. We attended the DEIB meeting with hopes of getting our questions answered, yet none of them were addressed. Did Julian discourage you from answering them? We still do expect answers. My impression following the meeting is that there are episodic situations that need to be dealt with appropriately among the students involved, building principals, the counselors, not with all students. Our children, ages 5 through 18, who are tender, innocent, and dependent, and who are strongly influenced and intellectually immature, will be in the presence of teachers and admin for hours, who are going to implement DEIB into their classrooms at their own discretion. We want government policies and opinions out of the classrooms. David Elkine, Doctor of Philosophy and sought-after author, states in his book, The Hurried Child, quote, "We should be more honest in separating our own concerns and more careful not to impose further stress by projecting those concerns onto our children," end quote. We need to protect these children and adolescents from the worldly and political things that are so harmful and just teach academics. And finally, I'll ask again, can we please conduct a town hall meeting to discuss many of these concerns and have a two-way conversation?
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate it. Others who would like to address the board this evening? Yes.
I brought some stuff with as well. Since we have some tenured ears here, I'll use this instead of what I was going to use. My name is Mindy. I live on Farmview Lane. These are books that our students are reading for social issues, 8th grade class. These are some of the words that they are reading, and I will direct your attention to the Riley Handbook. It says, suspension and expulsion. A student may be suspended temporarily or expelled permanently for the following reasons. Under citizenship, it states, use of profane or obscene language. It also states, next, possession and or distribution of pornographic or sexually inappropriate materials, notes, or messages. This is the book, All American Boys. Students can choose these books. I don't think people have read them. We're going to read a few passages from them. This one says, whenever he smiled, I was sure he put in tears Mrs. Canby's eyes, which is why they adopted him every Friday night. This is the expletive. that he uses in the book. This is on page 20. The next one, which is not very far in, uses more expletives. Basketball meetings every Friday and Saturday night mean one thing: no GD partying. Page 30 on a book for an 8th grader. I don't speak like that at home. I sure hope you guys don't. I don't think that's appropriate to use in the classroom. Same book. We're still reading, and it says, it was probably the first time since I'd been in high school that I'd ever been asked that question. I'm not a total blank. Also, same book. New word to my language. Very creative. Still inappropriate. Same book. You fought to get the 9th rep, more than halfway up. You need a hand, I said, putting my fingers beneath the bar, helping him lift it slightly. F, no, he spat. I pulled my fingers back, but kept them close. All in one book. This is one of 14. Here's another one. This is completely inappropriate for our children to be reading. I'm totally unfollowing her, she says, in life and online. Nosy B. This is not appropriate for our 8th graders. I could stand up here for hours and go on. These are 2 of the 14 books that our kids are having access to. There are stuff for transgender, stuff that are racially incentivized. It's not okay. There are so many things that I have to say and only 30 seconds left. Segregating our children due to vaccines and non-vaccines is ridiculous, insane, and discrimination. There are so many parents here who are not okay with it. My daughter is here to speak on it. None of this is okay. There are so many people who will be leaving Hudsonville District because you guys are not doing your job. I'm tired of people asking you. You don't get asked. We pay. You serve us. You are servants, public servants. You need to listen to your community.
Thank you for your comments. Mandy, what was your last name?
Andy Hubel?
Randy, thank you. Okay, others who would like to address the board? Yes.
I just have I printed something out for you guys. If you don't mind just passing it. So I'm Carrie O'Dell. I live in Jamestown, and I have 5 children who've all attended Hudsonville Public School for the past 12 years. I'm first here to say that critical race theory is a Marxist ideology. You can describe it in 54 different ways. It's still Marxism. That also includes the latest thing called DEIB. This ideology has no place in our schools or our administration. I attended the meeting on June 16th, and I hope you all did as well. If you did not, it was recorded, and I can send the video to you if you would like to see it. You do not need any more proof than just being at the meeting that this was very planned and very calculated to be as vague and misleading as possible. It was stated twice that DEIB is not a part of our new curriculum. But in the Hudsonville Public Schools made that very clear. However, it's right in your strategic planning with the DEIB and it's under curriculum. Obviously, other parents have stated this already. After looking that up on your Hudsonville Public School website, I then looked at the surveys and the data that was taken in 2020. And I found that parents and students both are actually very happy to be with Hudsonville Public Schools. They are asking not for safe spaces, but for more education and academics. Parents are very satisfied with the social emotional support, with only 8% saying that they are not satisfied. I gave you all packets that include most of the survey in there that you can look at your discretion. You can also see the comments that are left by parents of what they would like the school to have academically. 93% of parents stated that they would recommend Hudsonville Public Schools to friends and family, and only 1% gave a lower grade than a C. In all that I read in the data and results of the current surveys, I could not find where Hudsonville Public School is an unsafe environment, or that it needs to be more safe. Implying that somehow Hudsonville Public School is currently not safe, that this just isn't backed up by the surveys. I would encourage everyone to look them up and research the data for yourself. So I went back and looked over at the SOAR phases. Back to 2011, 13, 17, you all had great goals for our students. I included the 2000 survey in the packet. You had very positive feedback from parents who did your survey, and you had less than 1% of any negative feedback. Parents stated they loved our school, were very happy with the results of the children's education attending Hudsonville Public School, and they actually asked for more challenging education for our children. I think it's very clear that we are taking the wrong direction here. We need to focus back on a good core education, that this is what I got from looking at all the data and statistics. And I agree with it. It's clear that both parents and students in our community, that's what they want. No one wants the DEIB curriculum. I and many other parents in this community ask that you stop any further plans of the DEIB curriculum and remove it currently from the education plan moving forward.
Thank you, ma'am. We're up past time.
Okay, thank you so much.
Appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Okay, others who would like to address the board? Yes, I see you in the white shirt.
My Hudsonville water polo back-to-back state champ white shirt. Got to throw that out there. Thank you. Oh, my phone is locked. For heavens. Thank you, Ford, for your informative DEIB principles, all that meeting last time. It was very helpful to see the slide that this is professional education. This is not the courses for kids.
I'm sorry, sir, did we get a name?
Oh, sorry, Aaron Duty, Hudsonville.
Thank you.
I'll throw Ottawa Area Center for Pride, youth director, Hudsonville UCC, big time water polo fan, super fan, if you will, all the good stuff.
Yep.
I want to say the slides about how it is, I have them right here. It will be professional learning and creating safe spaces for all students. It is professional training, and I appreciate that. Because I agree, we need to protect our kids. And I work with dozens and dozens of kids that are at risk, that don't feel safe in these schools. And you've heard them at different board meetings. They come up and they say, I'm getting called racial slurs. I'm getting called homophobic names. We have churches being vandalized with homophobic and racist names. We have signs being ripped down that are trying to support our GSA students. We have just daily, seemingly attacks. And that's why I'm excited to hear you guys say, we believe in our children. Even if it's 1% of kids that feel attacked and unsafe, that is 1% too many. And on behalf of the kids that I know and I work with, thank you for that. Because for a lot of people, Hudsonville is amazing. And even with safety issues and concerns of those kids aside, they love it. But it needs to be a safe space for all. And in doing so, there's an amazing study that says if you can drop the suicide rate of LGBT kids or minority students by creating an inclusive environment, that does not stay with your minority students. That is across the board. So for every I don't have the numbers in front of me, apologize. For every 3 suicides you stop for an LGBT kid through these methods, you stop a straight kid from committing suicide as well. This isn't just about those kids. It's all kids. It's all of our kids. So I thank you for taking the time to make sure our educators and our direct care staff are trained and knowledgeable to protect the kids that we all love. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Others who would like to address the board? Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Campbell and I'm going into 9th grade. And tonight I'm going to be speaking about how the school's COVID restrictions have impacted my life in a negative way. And I'm also going to be talking about how my history class is biased. So as you know, the Hudsonville School District has forced every kid to wear a mask during the past school year, which is very wrong and illegal. I think that making every kid put a piece of cloth over their face is ridiculous, considering the fact that the virus is 99% survivable. I think that by wearing a mask for 7 hours of the day actually makes it quite worse, because just from my experience, I've touched my face way more than I would if I wasn't wearing a mask. I know a lot question that I would love you guys to answer. The last thing that made my mental health go down this year is the vaccine. Now, all I'm saying is that the idea of unvaccinated kids wearing a mask next year and fully vaccinated kids not having to do anything is straight up horrible. It's simply discrimination, and it's also against the law. I cannot imagine not getting the high school experience every other kid gets, and not being able to play all sports. I just want, because of my family's medical choice. COVID-19 has obviously been a huge issue this year, but so has the biased nature of my history class. Our class would watch CNN 10 every day, and it would honestly scare kids because every day Carl would talk about how the amount of deaths has gone up, and the vaccine, and now you have to wear 2 masks in the stores and all that stuff. And you can do these things if you desire, but don't tell other people what they need to do and what they can't do. My health is my responsibility, and your health is your responsibility. There was no other source of news that explained the other side of the story. It was only CNN 10 every single day. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing what you actions take from the next year.
Great, thank you for your comments. Okay, others, who would like to address the board this evening? Yes.
Thank you for your service. My name is Leah Harbison, 7367 VanderJagt Response. I got married, so I do have my maiden name Matthewson. If anybody's seen my email, I'm confused a bit. So I'm here because I asked for the agenda item to be added for the marketing consultant's comments. I got a response from President Paul a couple hours before this meeting, declining that request. I feel like the community does need to hear each and every one of yours opinions on what this marketing consultant said. Specifically, calling this community lily white. Which, for anybody who's in the room that doesn't understand what that is, it refers to an anti-black movement. And he called our community that. Maybe I have such passion about this because I'm the one who talked to him. I heard how unhinged he became when I was just simply asking questions as a parent who cares about their child's education. But I'm not gonna, you've made your decision. So I'm here because the DEIB parent meeting, it raised more questions than it provided answers. Dr. VanderJagt shared a slide at the DEIB parent meeting that said it's not CRT curriculum. But let me share with you all some principles, beliefs of critical race theory that align with statements made by the DEIB consultant Julia Newman, documents shared by OAISD, Ottawa Area Intermediate School District, the government entity supporting our local schools, a couple teachers in the school district that took to Twitter, and the federal government position. So first, and probably the most important bedrock principle of CRT is racism is not an individual conscious decision to be racist or act on the belief. No, racism is systemic. Julia Newman posted a graphic to his Instagram on June 18th that said, banning the teaching of systemic racism is actually a perfect example of systemic racism. Check. So, is that a principle of his teachings that is also a principle of CRT? Yup. In addition, a teacher at Baldwin Street Middle School retweeted, white educators, if we don't understand how current events represent the legacy of white supremacy, we need to work harder at it. I'll share that screenshot with you. I'm not mentioning any names here, of course. Second principle is white people receive unearned privilege at birth. In Mr. Newman's lecture for the Grand Rapids Theology Seminary, he states, race is a social construct. America created a racial caste system which places whites as most valuable and important. Also, he spoke at the DEIB parent meeting about this community being 96% white and privileged as justification for his services. Check. Third principle is meritocracy.
And we are at 3 minutes. You can certainly continue to email information to the board.
Yeah, I'll email this to you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments. Okay, others who would like to address the board this evening? Anyone else who would like to? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yep.
Lauren Knight, Camp, I live in Hudsonville.
As mentioned earlier, your HPS website states your mission statement is, success will be achieved through a cooperative partnership of students, teachers, support staff, administrators, board meetings, parents, and the community. However, recent HPS administration and board actions undermine that mission statement. The DEI meeting was not shared with the entire community. This unfortunately creates an environment of distrust between the community and parents versus HPS admin and board members. The concern of parents is escalating clearly. Many are considering sending their children to other school systems. This most certainly will impact HPS. The bottom line regarding state and federal funding. This doesn't just affect the kids that are leaving, it affects the kids and friends that are being left behind. If only 10% leave HPS, that's less than 680 kids, the district will lose approximately $8 million. That's 18% of your proposed basic instruction cost. This is something that can be avoided if HPS admin and school board will take the time to listen to these parents. After listening to Mr. Newman's presentation on June 16, it became disturbingly apparent to many of these parents that he did not know this community and who he was addressing. He never acknowledged the many children that have been adopted into this community from all over the world. The missionaries that live in this community that have spent years overseas, and they completely understand the issues of not having running water or coffee every morning. And the outflow of money from this community to help all over the world is immense. Mr. Newman chose to hop into this simplistic formula of painting our community as one of white privilege based on an alternative view of history of our country. How is this strategy of attack supposed to foster true dialogue and a cooperative partnership? At this time, many of the parents and community members of HPS do not trust the current DEIB efforts. While HPS admin and board assure us that DEIB will not be incorporated into curriculum, we know there's many ways it can be incorporated while keeping that statement true. Non-instructional time, bulletin boards, classroom literature, library books we've already seen about, required essays, debate, speech, social emotional learning. Sadly, HPS has a track record of not holding some zealous teachers accountable for pushing political and social agendas in the class. And I think it is dangerous to engage these teachers and staff in this training and simply trust them to their own discretion in the classroom. Again, this flies into the face of the purported transparency and cooperative partnership. But all is not lost. We must remember that we have control locally. When it comes to current health regulations as well as all curriculum, you receive recommendations and guidelines from the state. It is not law. As administrators and board members, you have the control, and I'm asking you to stand with the community that elected you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else would like to address the board this evening? Yes.
I'm Gwen Snewing, 4236 Creekview, Hudsonville. I don't have children in the school district right now, but I'm becoming aware of some disturbing things that are happening that I would just like to share. And one of them is the Voices of Hudsonville, who purchased hundreds of books for our school district. This money was raised by 24 people. And the Voices of Hudsonville page says that they raise funds to put diverse and anti-racist books in the hands of community students, advocating for equity and working to dismantle racism. They want to purchase books for the English language arts classrooms in the 2 middle schools, specifically books that deal with social inequities that result from systemic racism. The books in this pile that I can see include books by Ibram, is that how you say his name? Zendi, who says the only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination, and that is critical race theory. And he also says in order to be truly anti-racist, you have to be anti-capitalist, which is another thing that is un-American. School boards have a duty to regulate classroom instruction and decide what the content of the curriculum will be. They absolutely have the right to determine what is in the curriculum and what is left out. Further, according to the Foundation for Individual Rights in Education, you have different speech rights as a hired employee, Garcetti versus Sabalos, 2006. K-12 teacher's speech is regarded as the expression of a public employee pursuant to official duties. Hence, curricular speech is regarded as hired speech, not entitled to protection by the First Amendment. They follow your lead, and I just encourage you to look into this further and stop the critical race theory. Equity requires force. What we have in America is equal opportunity. That's liberty. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Others would like to address the board? Anyone else? Yes, in the back. Yes.
I didn't come here expecting to talk, and I actually don't have anything prepared, but I do know that I was living in ignorance, not realizing that this school district was going down this road. I thought my children were, and I'm like, we're in a good school district. This is great. Then I find out that you're going down the road of critical race theory. And you've hired someone who believes in critical race theory and the 1619 project, which is not our history. So we're deciding now that we're not going to teach our children American history. And I do believe that America is great, and we have made many mistakes. But that's life. That's what happens in your life. You make mistakes, you learn from it, you go on. America is where everyone's trying to get in here. They're all coming to America. And now all of a sudden America's terrible. I hear about a history teacher in the high school who harasses kids for wearing American flags on their hats or their shirts. What is that? Since when is American flag bad? And we elected a black man as president twice. 2 times. Doesn't mean it's racist. We've had slaves in the past. We've made mistakes. But we keep on getting better. And also, for my children, I grew up in Detroit. My children's life in school is so much different than what I experienced or what I've seen anywhere else. So kids get bullied. Not really happening much in Hudsonville. It happens sometimes. So much less than when I was a kid. So different than when I was a kid. You're never going to make everything 100% because you can't be perfect. And I tell my children all the time, you can't be perfect. You don't want your children to strive to perfection because then what? That's not a goal that's attainable. They're going to make mistakes, things are going to happen. And sometimes those kids that are the ones that aren't talking to the other kids, they're just as lonely and afraid as the other ones. So I'm all for everyone feeling good, but I know everyone's not. That's part of high school. That's part of being a kid. I mean, we learn, right? We make mistakes, we learn. But we have to have a little bit more faith in this community that we're raising our children to care about other people. And not everyone's going to do it, and there's nothing we can do about that. Absolutely nothing. We just have to do the best that we can and have a little faith in us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else that would like to address the board? Anyone else that would like to address the board? Okay, I don't think, yes, I see one more. Yep.
My name is Justine Bokamp. I live in Whiteland Township. And sleep this night. So bear with me a little bit. I am a youth leader at one of the larger churches in our area. I have seen firsthand how all of this COVID craziness has affected these kids. And I know a lot of it was out of your guys' control. I totally understand that. And by the way, I want to thank you all for the work that you all do. I cried many times along with young women and the stress that they were under this past year. I would hope so much that I'm not going to go down a lot of the other lines that some different speakers talked about, but I am just going to urge you all that if we could get back to as much normality in this next school year as possible, please, for the sake of these kids and what I have seen this past year. And I think I can speak along the lines of so many parents in this room that I raise my kids to love and be respectful of everyone they come in contact with. We actually had this year one of my daughters, she's just in pre-K, but she was picking on a kid at school. My husband and I took that so seriously. She came home and I wrote out in big letters the verse of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I had my pre-K practice for letters by writing out that verse, and then we talked about it and how important that is. And I actually then just got to have a play date with that mom, and we got to bring our girls together and we got to talk about the stuff and work on that stuff. I promise you, majority of the parents in this room will work as tirelessly as my husband and I do to make sure that our kids treat others with love and respect. Like one of the other moms said, everyone's going to make mistakes. But please know that we don't need Julian Newman to come in with all that he has and have our kids see an even wider gap of difference and then think that some are worse than others or some have caused other things. I promise you, I will work endlessly that my kids will treat everyone with the respect they deserve, no matter race, religion, sexual orientation. They will treat everyone with respect because everyone is made in God's image. And thank you so much for your time.
We do appreciate your comments. Okay, a final comment or two on that I would like to address the board. Again, we have some other business that we have to take care of this evening, but anyone else that would like to address the board?
I didn't plan on speaking also, and I'm not a public speaker, so to get me up here is huge. I've grown up in Hudsonville. All my life attended Hudsonville Public School.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Bonnie.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Cappington was one of my teachers. Don Sneem was a couple years behind me in school. Hudsonville was a great school system. People moved here to go to Hudsonville school system. I challenge you board members to do your homework. You have listened to all of these people speak tonight. I don't know who you're getting your direction from, and I'm not saying that you haven't done your homework, but there's a lot of mothers and parents here that are very concerned. I challenge you now to go do your homework, research these things. This is not what we want in our school systems. You need to listen to the parents. You're employed by us. We can vote you out in the coming elections, and I just want to challenge you, do your homework, men and women.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Okay, one final comment, anyone? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands. I don't think I'm seeing anybody, so, okay. With that, we do appreciate all the comments that were made this evening. As one of the speakers said, well, we are, what we strive for is safety and of our students, students feeling that they belong, that they're part of our Hudsonville community. As you met the students, the new teaching staff this evening that are excited to be here, we want our students to be part of that community that we're all part of. So, and we're on a journey, and we do appreciate and respect everyone's comments this evening. We appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts. If you like. Yeah.
This isn't normal. It's a board meeting in which it's not my meeting, it's a board meeting. For those of you that know board meetings, it's not a public meeting, it's a board meeting held in public, and that's the chance you get to talk. So there's not a chance for dialogue, which a lot of you would like. But there was a comment made earlier tonight that I would love to address regarding comments that were made by a consultant that was used regarding our strategic planning process. His name's Jeff Gardner. We have used him, the district's used him for the past 12 years, I believe. I've known him for the past longer than that. He's the same gentleman that does strategic planning from around the area. I don't remember who made the comment. Thank you. So I just want to give you context to the strategic planning process. I can't speak on behalf of Jeff's comments. I will tell you that that is not the belief of the board. The belief of the board that we have an amazing district. We have work to do. We understand that as a district, as a community. Yes, we need your help through that process. But Jeff's comments about the conversation I believe you had with him about being a lily white district are not the beliefs of the board. Definitely not the belief of myself or our team, to the best of my knowledge. His involvement in our strategic plan has nothing to do with the creation of the document itself. The only thing Jeff does is the board works with the administrative team on questions that we submit to the community, to the staff, and to the students. That took place about 1.5 years ago, for those that you remember. It was right when COVID hit. It just happened to be when the timing of our cycle for strategic planning was. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's when the survey was sent out. He does not create the questions. He does not create the content. The only thing he does is collects the data and puts it into a form that we can analyze it as a team. He is not involved in focus groups. He's not involved in the theme setting. He's not involved in the work that our administrative team does to create the document. Do we have are we having conversations about that document based on some comments that we've heard, not just tonight, but over the last couple months? Yes, we continue to evaluate that. I think that's important it's a living and breathing document. We just don't say, here it is, deal with it, we'll redress it in 3 years. We want to work through it. But I can guarantee you that Jeff's involvement in our strategic plan has nothing to do with the term DEIB or any of the content that took place in the strategic plan. I just wanted to set that straight, if that makes sense.
Can I ask
And this is not a conversation. I'm really sorry. If you want to discuss further, feel free to call my office. I just said this isn't normal, but I wanted to address the comment because you have asked a couple times, and this seemed like a good environment to answer the question. Lisa, you're right. If you have further questions, please feel free to give me a call tomorrow.
Yeah, please, yeah, you can
I'm
contact
sorry,
Dr. Vander.
I don't mean to be rude. That's not.
Contact Dr. VanderJagt. Time can be set up to discuss with him. Obviously, further emails and information can be shared with the board. And again, we appreciate everybody's comments here this evening. We do have to go into closed session to discuss negotiations of contract with our teachers. So we'll move on with the agenda at this time. Again, thank you everyone for coming this evening. So,
I'm blocking you now.
all right, we are. Okay, so we are out of closed session. We had motion by Chad, support from Steve Bowerman to come out of closed session. So somebody's taking notes over there?
Yep.
Okay, so and that was at 7:42, I think he said, that we came out of closed session. So we're back in regular session now. We have one more action item to cover. That's approval of the HEA Master Agreement. So Dr. VanderJagt, you'll be starting us off on this discussion.
Yeah, real quick. Just want to thank Ian Armstrong, Pat Briggs for their work that they've done on behalf of the board. I want to thank Becky and Brad for their work, Krista for your involvement. In just an uncertain time when we still don't know what the state budget's going to look like, we're getting more ideas, but nothing's been approved, and we know the end of June is coming ever so fast. So I'll turn it over to Ian Armstrong to talk about the agreement, and then ask the board what she's done.
Yeah. First of all, I too want to really thank Becky, Brad, and Krista for their work. I think that, at least I'm going to say for Becky and Brad, that the work that we do throughout the year in just building relationships and trust and knowing that we're all in this together really helps us have a good conversation when we're at the table for these types of things. So I really appreciate you too. This is a 3-year contract that I am recommending for approval to Dr. VanderJagt. And as I laid out when we were in closed session, I feel that more I want to talk about it since I already did the thing. So, Dr. VanderJagt, I am recommending what I have put through the board tonight as approval.
Perfect, thank you. I know the teachers had a chance to review the contract. They had a conversation with that, I believe it was last week, sorry. Had a chance to review that, and now it's truly up to the board to vote on the 3-year contract that will go into effect technically starting July 1, but get ready for the next school year. We had that conversation with our transportation department. That'll be next on the docket to kind of finalize that. Food service has just been finalized. The teachers obviously impacts work that they may do over the summer, or definitely going into the fall, and then having a 3-year contract certainly shows just the great commitment that not only we have to our teachers, but our teachers have to the district. So that is a recommendation to the board.
Okay, can I have a motion, please, that the board approve the HEA Master Agreement as reviewed by Ann Armstrong and Dr. VanderJagt? I vote that. Motion by Mark.
Support.
Support from Barb. Any questions or comments? Okay, all in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Becky and Brad, again, yes, we truly appreciate the partnership, the work together to reach this point on a 3-year contract. We're excited about that as a board. We feel it's a good contract and a good way forward for us as a district. So thank you for supporting the hard work you put into it. So thank you.
I would just like to add real quick
Sure.
if I can. I want to second what Ann says, but also I think that when people hear about contract negotiations, they think about just a specific time, but they don't realize that that work of contract negotiations is not just it's an ongoing process. It's a year long, and the longer we do it, the more efficient that we get at it and what we can do. And so I think that's just kind of a testament to the board, because the longevity that you have and the commitment that we have, I think it really goes well together.
Great, thank you. Okay, all right, with that, that's our last action item, so we'll do a board roundtable. Any items that the board wants to touch on? Barb, anything from you? Okay, Steve? No. Okay.
Thanks for the human resource. Additional people that had to be hired and switch around, and we know you bring us another great candidate soon for athletic directors. Thanks.
Yeah.
I just wonder, we did hear a lot of comments tonight about critical race theory, about curriculum, about Julian Newman. I just wonder if you could make a few comments about what we know at this point the district will be doing or will not be doing.
We've had a lot of conversations the last couple of weeks regarding that and what it looks like. I cannot. I think the work is important to address all needs, to our students. I can be very transparent and say when we created the strategic plan, that the term DEIB was not associated with a noun that meant something bad. I'm learning more and more about that, and it does disturb me. I'm not gonna lie. But the intent of taking care of every kid, and not just those that have supportive families at home, which most of our families do, but not all kids have that. That was our goal. So are we gonna look at our strategic plan and take a closer look at, I will say the term DEIB? Yeah, that's our intent. We started that conversation most recently. Regarding Julian, I can't speak on behalf of his comments. You know, some of his comments were made recently, some were made a year or so ago, and somebody shared with me comments from a year or so ago. We have not had a chance to have those conversations. I sit in a different seat, right? Where I do not believe that these conversations will change Hudsonville. Definitely not make it a bad district. But I also sit in the seat where I see this happening every day, and I trust what we're doing as a team and as a community. So I really started to remove myself from being a superintendent and being a parent that's not sitting in my seat, that doesn't have quite frankly, haven't been in the buildings all year, the past 18 months, because we didn't let them in. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't want to go back to those conversations, but I'm looking forward to parents being back in our buildings for open houses and parent-teacher conferences and volunteering and watchdogs and all of those things that were removed, so that we can get back to that trust of, yeah, we're not doing this we're not doing this because of, you know, I've asked 5 people their definition of the critical race theory. I've got 5 different definitions, right? All I know is it's not true. good for our kids. And so I want to make sure that we still maintain that all means all, and what that looks like in our classrooms might be different. Does that mean that we're going to push pause on the work that Julian has done or will continue to do? We have to reevaluate that, and we have time to do that. There's nothing happening in the next, 5, 6, 7, 6, when the school starts. We're getting closer. I know July is next week, or the end of this week, I don't even know. So, but I don't want to dive into this just because it seemed like the right thing to do. So we want to do a deep dive and determine if that's the right path. And maybe it is the right path, but maybe not the right path now. Maybe he is the right person, or maybe not right now. I don't know. And it's hard. Listening to the comments tonight, I think every single parent has valid concerns for what they know about what they believe is happening. And I think we have to take those into account moving forward as a district. But I also know that I hear from parents on a regular basis that thank you for starting this conversation. Not into DEIB, not into critical race theory, but starting the conversation that some kids do not feel safe coming to school here. And I think we need to take that into account too. So I'm not saying it's a loaded question, but it's a lot to process.
I
over the
appreciate
past
that.
several month and a half or so.
Yeah, I think we're all hearing a ton of feedback right now. I think I would encourage us as a district to be as transparent as we can about what we do or don't intend to do with that in regards to curriculum. I know I've been told that there's no specific changes to student curriculum, and I know there's been discussions with Julian, but I don't think throughout these next several weeks of summer, I don't think there's any teacher trainings or education or anything like that planned. So I think we have time to be thoughtful and be transparent with the community. I would just encourage us to be transparent.
It would be, and I'm not saying this is a good thing or bad thing. It would be a lot easier if there were a curriculum that I could say, yes, here's what we're providing for our teachers to bring in. There's not. So we have to figure out what is the intent of the messaging. It's not like, I don't know if you've ever been through Capturing Kids' Hearts training. We were talking about that earlier. Capturing Kids' Hearts training is about is similar conversations, but there's a prescribed curriculum that you bring into your classroom that you do when you're with your kids. There isn't anything on the agenda regarding that. I think the conversation is important, and I think the passion behind it, I think, is equally as important on both ends. But I grew up, I spent 50 years in this area. We're not gonna think the ship.
Agree, and I know we all have the best intentions of our kids at heart. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there, and silence doesn't correct the misinformation. I think that's my main concern. I can't tell you how often I get contacted right by I don't know if you possibly heard something like that, because it's completely, utterly untrue. And I think to the degree we can, transparency will help with that.
I think that even the comment about vaccination, that was the first I heard that we're going to require. I had not heard that, and we're obviously not doing that.
Right.
But there are some things we're learning.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Motion by Chad.
Support.
Support from Dawn. All in favor of the motion, say yes.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.